Okay, continuing our discussion from Team Geek and how to put humility, respect, and trust into practice. So we've talked about losing the ego. Another really big factor is giving and receiving feedback. So here's a set of things that I'm going to go over that are a combination from my own experience as well as from the book. This is one of the really big ones, which is if someone doesn't ask for feedback from you, don't provide it. No one wants to hear it if they didn't ask for it. They're going to be not receptive to it, so it's not going to work. They're not going to want to hear it, and they're not going to then pay attention to the feedback. You're going to have basically no effect on them. So people don't like feedback. Why? It's a criticism. I mean, oh sure, yeah, go ahead, praise people. If you have a compliment, you think someone's done a great job, absolutely tell them that. That's great. Those are, power ups. They make you feel wonderful, and I encourage you to always let people know when you think they've done a great job. So that's not what we're talking about here. When we're talking about feedback, we're really talking about I have to criticize you. Okay, so or at least what we want to be aware of is that we need to be careful about giving and receiving feedback when it is critical. When you're praising someone, you don't need to be careful about it. So people aren't going to be open to this. I'll tell you, like for me, one of the stupidest things that I've done is my wife will be cooking, all right, and I stop by as she's cooking, and I'll give her feedback to help make the food taste better. It doesn't go over well, okay? Not at all. It comes off as a criticism because it is. She didn't ask me for it. She's doing her job, and I'm just her peer. Like, we are not in a place for me to tell her how to cook better. It doesn't work. And I think this thing happens time and time again. Not with my wife, but I mean in life. And you're going to work on these teams. Your peers. There's no notion that you're more senior than someone else or that you're reporting to them. You're all considered equals on these scrum teams. So no one wants to hear what you want to tell them about the way that they're doing things. It doesn't work that way. So the only times that you can do this is you can give feedback when someone asks. Someone comes to you and says, "Yeah, I want to, could you give me some feedback on this?" They're open, they're receptive to it. You can give them the feedback. That's great. But don't give it when they are not asking for it unless, and it's your job. So as a boss, you are in that more senior position, and your job is to actually say, "I'm sorry, you're not doing this correctly. No, I need you to check this again. It doesn't look right." That's the boss's job, okay? And of course, the employees understand it. They don't like to be told that they're doing things wrong, but they understand that we have these structures in place. It's just like the teacher and the student. We understand that the teacher has to tell the student, you're doing a good job, you're not doing a good job. We've set this up that way. It's not fun, but it's understandable. And so it usually is fairly successful because, if I don't do what my boss tells me to do, eventually we're going to get to the point where my boss says, "You don't need to work for us anymore." Okay? So we're all keen on that. But my peers, no, I don't care. You're not in charge of me. So that feedback doesn't work unless the person has asked for it. Likewise, though, you can have lots of circumstances where the boss or the company or whatever has put into place something where they're demanding that the job of the peers is to give feedback to give criticism, to work to improve processes. For example, code reviews. So we expect when you're doing these pull requests that you have a reviewer, and the reviewer is looking at your code, reviewing it, and is going to give feedback on how to make it better, on what needs to be done to be sure that this is top-notch quality code. If the reviewer is not doing it, they're going to get feedback from the boss that they're not doing their job. How did you let all this junky code get into the system? You were the reviewer. Why weren't you doing your job? So this mechanism, then we know, oh, well, the boss has told them to give me feedback. All right. So these are circumstances where you're certainly going to give feedback when someone's not asking for it, but otherwise, keep your mouth shut unless they ask you for feedback. So now, when you are giving feedback, so someone has asked you for it, or you're being told that you have to give it, keep in mind that you should really be gentle and careful to focus on how to improve rather than condemn. Okay, so for an example, you might very well, say, a good example is this can be made to go faster by using a hash table. So you're looking over the code and you realize their data structure choice wasn't as good as it could be. You can see a way to improve the code. All right, focus on how it can be made to something can be an improvement. Just focus on the positive change to make. Okay, bad is to do something that's like you start off with, this code is really slow and stupid. Really slow and stupid. Because let's really lay on our hate and our we want to be feeling powerful and strong over people. If you had learned anything, blah 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 blah. You would know to use a hash table, you stupid person on my team. Don't do this. This is not the way to do it. Stick to, first of all, this also involves an attack on a human and a person for no good reason, and that's not appropriate. But don't focus on the mistake and how wrong the mistake was. Focus on, here are some ways that we can improve. Inherent and implicit in this is going to be, well, there's a mistake here because I have some way that we can improve it. This is whatever the person's done isn't already good enough. So you don't need to rub the salt into the wound. Just get to how to improve things. All right. This leads into a very common saying, but it's worth reminding you of it. I already mentioned it, but it is basically attack the problem, not the person. So there's no need to get into their faults, their failures, and such forth. Let's focus on the problem. And there's a really good trick for this, is that you can avoid saying you. Okay, so don't direct it at the person. Because if you don't, so if you get rid of the pronoun you, you're gonna only be able to talk about other stuff other than the person. Or let's say you have a group of people, don't use their name. Oh, Mark keeps doing this. No, don't talk about the person with their name. Don't say you when you're talking to them. And instead, focus on, if you need to do anything, make I statements. And so couch it in I, blah, 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 I think, I feel, I believe, whatever. Start with I, it's you, so you're going to talk from the notion of yourself, not from the notion of the other person. You can only know about how you think and feel. So don't be telling them what they were thinking. Don't be telling them how they're feeling. You don't know. You can talk about how you feel about things. You can tell people what you think about the situation. But don't tell them about them. You're not in their position. You're not in their head. You're not in their mind. Focus on your perception. Couch everything with I statements. Don't talk about you. So for an example, is, let's say you're actually having interpersonal problems with the person. So you'd think like, wow, you might really need to talk about them. So so consider saying something, I feel disrespected when you skip meetings or are late to meetings or something like that. But, the problem, you've got a problem with someone. They're always late to stuff or they're not showing up at meetings. All right. Talk about how it makes you feel. I feel disrespected when you skip meetings. Or you could, I feel that the team is not able to be as effective in these meetings without your presence. All right. You aren't even going to speak for the team. It's what you think and what you feel about the team. All right. And unfortunately, I did use the word you, but, in fact, we can improve this. I feel disrespected when people skip meetings. Maybe maybe the other person's the only person who ever skips meetings. Just say people. Don't necessarily tag them. They know you're talking about them. You don't necessarily need to. That's a better one. And so people, all right. And versus coming out. So this is a good way of approaching something. Versus you disrespect us when you skip meetings. There. That does read a lot better with people, I think. So yeah, you disrespect us. I'm going to attack you. I'm going to point to you. You are the problem. You are, this is so much nicer. Even in a situation when you are having to talk about other people's behavior. Yeah. Take it to the team level. Sure, we might know there's a problem person, but no need to single them out, okay? Put it as an I statement, how it affects you, what you think about it, rather than saying that this person does it, because the person is going to come back and be defensive probably and be like, I don't disrespect you at all. I'm just, too busy. No. Let them know that you are actually hurt by this. It's not, there is a consequence to their actions that they might not be aware of. But you put it this way, people are going to be defensive. They're going to push back. They're not going to be, So you got to get that feedback in there in some gentle, nice way. Otherwise, we just escalate problems and we don't actually solve them. All right. 4. Now I learned this one. I attended someone giving a talk. They gave a talk about actually how to give interview talks in academia. So this is something common for job hiring in academia, is that you come in and you go and you give a technical talk about material. And almost always there'll be someone in the audience. After your talk, you say, "Oh, are there any questions?" And there seems to be someone who in the audience who always wants to demonstrate that they are smarter than you. So they clearly have not listened to the notion of being humble, having humility, and instead they're there to attack and to show how much better they are than you. And so this person gave this really fascinating advice, and I think to put the person who's the speaker, who's getting attacked, who's receiving this criticism out of the blue, in the right mindset of how to deal with it. And so the advice was that when receiving advice or criticism, pretend the person, and I wish I remembered who gave this advice because I would cite them, but I don't. Pretend the person giving it is your best friend. Okay? And the idea here is that a true friend, so someone who you really know, this person is a friend. We've been friends forever. We've shared everything. In this situation, they're not attacking you. And basically thus, if you feel attacked, it must be because you don't understand. And the goal, so the notion is look, my best friend wouldn't be attacking me. It feels like an attack, but I know my best friend wouldn't attack me. So what don't I understand about what they're saying or what's going on here? Why do I think this? This person doesn't attack me. This person cares about me. So if it feels like an attack, I must not understand something. There's a piece of the puzzle not here. And so again, the premise is you really are being attacked, all right? But pretend the person doing it is your best friend. So therefore, I know they care about me. So they must not be attacking me, but I must not understand something, which then leads you to basically ask them a question, So the idea is you're going to say, well, I'm sorry, I don't understand that. Could you explain that to me in another way? The goal here is to help you avoid being defensive. If you become defensive, it is super clear and super obvious to everyone that you feel, wait a minute, I'm under attack. You're going to stay calm. It's your best friend. Clearly you don't understand something, and you're just going to say, I'm sorry, I don't quite understand that. Could you explain it to me in another way? It slows things down, gives you a chance for your internal blood pressure to lower. They get a chance to restate things maybe in a nicer way. It's like it's a hostage negotiator or something. Like You want to bring the tensions down. And this helps you do it because you need to control your internal sense. Otherwise, when you go on the defensive, you're probably going to attack back. What's the best defense but a good, strong offense? So before you know it, now we have people fighting, yelling, and our entire situation has gone to pot. The first person shouldn't have attacked. That's true. But your response needs to be to avoid escalating it. So pretend that they're your best friend. Ask for more information because you don't understand. And it gives you a chance then to avoid being defensive. So when you're defensive, you're probably going to fight blow for blow. You don't want to do that. The whole point here is you really want to mentally and then verbally, as you communicate with the person, dodge the punch. They came at you. You're not going to let it actually hit you because you're going to go, oh, all right. Can you tell me more? You're going to work to de-escalate it, dodge it, not actually get in a fight. If you go on the defensive, you will start to fight, and then you'll have a real problem. You're both going to come out worse for the matter. All right. Now, in all of this, it's very important that you understand that this does not mean to let people take advantage of you and so forth and so on. So none of this means to be a doormat. Okay. And don't allow yourself to be bullied or harassed. So I'm just going to actually make this a period. And in particular, I want to say that when dealing with circumstances where I'm just talking about normal levels of a person's a jerk, they're a bully, normal levels of that's annoying, they seem to be really on my case. I'm not talking about situations of sexual harassment, any other sorts of discrimination or other sorts of attacks on you. We're just talking about small interpersonal things. For sexual harassment and other serious notions of harassment and stuff, don't allow that either. But those are matters that you need to not try to resolve yourself, but you need to actually involve human resources or perhaps, law enforcement, okay? Just want to point that out, that we're talking here about how to help you deal with small things. The major things you need other people involved to help you deal with them, and you certainly shouldn't allow those to happen either. So here, so you can stand up for yourself. You remember this notion that we're gonna trust other people, that everyone on the team is competent. That extends to you. So if someone is trying to exert their ego and push you down, that's actually when you need to remember and come back and no, I am competent. I know what I'm talking about, and I actually do have an opinion here, and I'm going to say it, So you could envision things where people are, needing to say and speak up for themselves with stuff like, I don't appreciate, let's say someone is being mean in their criticism. So I don't appreciate how you are criticizing my work. All right? And see how it was stated as a I statement. I don't appreciate it. The nature of it. All right. But either way, no, I'm sorry. That what you're doing is not appropriate, and I'm going to let you know, and I'm not going to stand up for it. You could even be saying people could be going back and forth on ideas in a team, and you can say, no, I still think this is the best way, let's get another opinion, or let's get some more data or something. There's all sorts of ways that you could see about this, which is, so again, it's not, oh, yep, someone else has a different opinion. I guess I'll just let them have it, and we'll go and we'll accept everything that they say. No, again, through this diversity and these people, all of you have these great ideas and abilities. There is going to be some disagreement, and you should still stick up for your stuff, and don't be a doormat. We need the ideas to be shaped and formed. We don't want to be critical and attacking people, but don't let other people. You got to keep the team. It's kind of like being the interpersonal scrum master. Well, this is the way we behave, and I'm not going to let you behave this way. No, I'm going to stand up for myself. That's an important notion. All right. And then finally, so if we want to have, so I've seen people who really want to give lots of feedback to other people. And again, you can't go around giving feedback to people unless they're asking for it. So how do we get to that? Well, what we really need is we want a culture that there's lots of feedback naturally in it. So to create a culture of asking for feedback, so again, we need people to ask for feedback so they'll be receptive to it. So the first way to do this is by doing it yourself. Okay? And this is really hard to do because you're going to put yourself out there and be vulnerable, but that's the whole point. You are demonstrating to people that this can be done, that it's okay. They see how you're receptive. You ask for their opinions, and then you're receptive, you take their influence. This can, oh, okay, well, I see that it works. Maybe it's safe to ask back for feedback on my work. So show your work frequently and seek feedback. And show how to nicely accept criticism and improve yourself. All right. So again, this comes back to a lot of leading by example, but I certainly have seen this in groups and in companies where often it tends to be the more senior people. They're much more, they've learned from time, and they know they need the feedback of others. They don't hide their work. They're out there. They're quick to put up a draft of something and get feedback on it. They're quick to share their ideas. They don't work to perfect them before they get them out there, because they know that getting this feedback sooner will improve things. And also it creates this culture of, look, I did something. Let me get some feedback on it. And it is a much healthier, nicer way to work, rather than everyone keeping everything to themselves, only trying to show things when they're done. And then when people give you feedback, you've invested so much in it as well that it's crippling almost to get the feedback. Get the feedback early. Show things when it's not that great, and let people know, like, oh, I just whipped this together, last night, really fast. I want some feedback on it before I get any further on it. That's going to work better. Okay, work on that. Okay,